It was supposed to be just another dinner. The lights were dim, the music soft, the smell of wine and roasted lamb filled the air. To anyone watching, it looked like a perfect evening. But beneath those smiles, a storm was waiting to explode. My name is Daniel, I'm 38 years old. Tonight across this table sat my wife, the woman I loved for 12 years. And right beside her sat the man she had been secretly betraying me with. They thought I didn't know. They thought this was a night of celebration, but what they didn't realize was that every course, every sip, every word was leading them closer to the moment of truth. And by the time dessert arrived, their world would never be the same again. If you're watching this right now, drop a comment and tell me where you're viewing from. And don't forget, hit like and subscribe for more real stories filled with betrayal, suspense, and shocking revenge. This is not just a dinner. This is the betrayal dinner. On the outside, Daniel and Emily looked like the perfect couple. They had a beautiful home, expensive dinners, and friends who envied their love. Daniel worked hard, building his business from nothing. Emily, always smiling by his side, played the role of the supportive wife. But sometimes perfection is nothing more than a mask. Behind Emily's gentle laugh and warm eyes was a secret Daniel could never imagine. And while he thought he had found his forever partner, Emily was already planning a future with someone else. What Daniel didn't know was that the biggest betrayal of his life had already begun. Daniel never doubted Emily, but one evening something felt off. She was dressed up beautifully, but when he asked where she was going, her answer was too quick. "Just dinner with a friend," she smiled, avoiding his eyes. Daniel brushed it off at first, but later that night he noticed her phone buzzing again and again. She picked it up, stepped into another room, and closed the door. His heart sank. Why was she hiding? Why couldn't she talk in front of him? That was the first time Daniel felt a knot in his stomach. He didn't want to believe it, but deep inside a voice whispered that something was terribly wrong. The next day, Daniel couldn't shake off the feeling, so when Emily left her phone on the table to take a shower, he hesitated. His hands trembled as he picked it up. He told himself, "I trust her, but why do I feel like I shouldn't?" And then there it was, a message on the screen from a man named Ryan. "Last night was perfect. Can't wait to see you again." Daniel's heart nearly stopped. He felt his chest tighten, his breath heavy. His world was crashing, yet he forced himself to stay calm. He put the phone back exactly as it was, pretending nothing had happened, but inside the fire of revenge had already been lit. The next morning, Daniel acted as if nothing had happened. He smiled at Emily, poured her coffee, even kissed her on the cheek, but inside, he was a storm. Every word she spoke felt like poison. Every laugh sounded fake. He wanted to confront her right there, to throw the phone on the table and demand the truth. But he stopped himself. If he exploded too soon, he would lose control. And control was exactly what he needed now. So Daniel played along. He listened to her talk about weekend plans, nodding like a loving husband, while his mind was already spinning a new plan. A plan that would hurt far more than shouting ever could. By the time Emily left for work, Daniel had already decided. He wouldn't just expose her betrayal, he would make her feel it, at the perfect moment. That evening, Daniel sat alone at the dining table, staring at his phone. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of what he was about to do. He typed a message to Emily and her lover. "Dinner tomorrow night. I have something special planned. Don't be late." He read it over and over, a cold smile tugging at his lips. To Emily, it would sound like romance. To her lover, maybe even excitement. But to Daniel, it was the first step toward justice. When Emily came home, she looked surprised, but delighted. "A dinner, just the two of us?" she asked. Daniel nodded, hiding the rage boiling inside. "Yes, a dinner you'll never forget." As she hugged him, Daniel's eyes turned distant. Tomorrow night would change everything. The next day, Daniel set the table with calm precision. 3 plates, 3 glasses, 3 sets of silverware. Emily walked in, her heels clicking against the floor, and paused when she noticed the extra setting. Why 3? she asked, her brow furrowing. Daniel forced a warm smile. "Oh, you'll see, tonight is special." She didn't press further, though suspicion lingered in her eyes. Hours later, the doorbell rang. Daniel opened it to reveal Emily's lover, standing there with a smug grin, holding a bottle of wine. Emily froze, her face pale. "Daniel, I can explain." But Daniel simply gestured toward the table. "No need. Dinner is served." The room fell into heavy silence, broken only by the sound of clinking glasses. None of them knew that the final course would shatter their lives forever. The three of them sat at the table, the air so thick you could almost hear it crackle. Emily's hands trembled as she reached for her glass, her eyes darting between her husband and her lover. Daniel poured the wine slowly, deliberately, as if savoring every drop. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "To loyalties and to truth," he said, raising his glass. Emily hesitated, her lover smirked, and Daniel watched them both closely. The clink of their glasses sounded like a warning bell. For a few moments, they ate in silence. Emily tried to speak, but Daniel cut her off with a chilling smile. "Don't worry, sweetheart. The main course hasn't even arrived yet." Her heart skipped a beat. She realized then this wasn't a dinner. This was a stage, and Daniel was the only one holding the script. The waiter placed steaming plates in front of them. Perfectly cooked steak, Daniel's specialty request. But Emily couldn't taste a thing. Her hands shook as she cut into the meat, her mind racing. Her lover tried to break the tension with small talk. "This is delicious," he said with a forced smile. Daniel leaned back in his chair, eyes locked on them. "Funny, isn't it? How a meal can bring people together or tear them apart." His words hung in the air like smoke. Emily swallowed hard. "Daniel, what's going on?" He smirked, lifting his fork slowly. "All in good time. Tonight is about honesty." The room grew colder, the silence unbearable. Emily realized that every bite, every glance was part of something bigger, something she wasn't ready for. And she had no idea the night was about to turn deadly. Daniel slowly raised his wineglass, the candlelight reflecting in his eyes. To love, loyalty, and the truth that always comes out. His voice was calm, but heavy with meaning. Emily's heart pounded. She forced a smile, lifting her own glass with trembling fingers. Her lover followed awkwardly, clearly unsure of what was happening. They clinked glasses. The sound was sharp, too sharp, like the crack of something breaking. Emily tried to speak. "Daniel, please, if this is some kind of joke..." But Daniel cut her off. "No joke. Tonight, you'll both taste the consequences of your choices." Emily froze. She set her glass down, staring at him in shock. The air was thick, suffocating. Every second felt stretched, like the pause before a storm. And deep down, she knew. The worst part of the night hadn't even started yet. Daniel reached under his chair and pulled out a folded envelope. His hands were steady, but his voice carried a sharp edge. "I wasn't sure how to show you the truth, so I wrote it down." He slid the envelope across the table, stopping right in front of Emily. Her face drained of color as she stared at it, terrified to open it. The lover shifted uncomfortably, whispering, "What is this?" Daniel leaned forward, his eyes locked on Emily's. "It's everything, every lie, every detail, written down, so you can't pretend anymore." Emily's hands shook as she slowly opened the envelope. Inside were photographs, dozens of them, each one proof of her betrayal. The room went silent. Only the sound of her uneven breathing filled the air. And then Daniel spoke again, quieter this time, yet more chilling. "This dinner is not about forgiveness. It's about reckoning." Emily's trembling fingers dropped the photos onto the table. They scattered like shattered glass, each picture louder than any word. Her lover swallowed hard, his face pale. "Daniel, this isn't fair. You've been spying on us?" Daniel let out a low laugh, cold and heavy. "Spying? No, just watching. Waiting. Collecting the truth you both thought I'd never see." Emily tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "Daniel, please, but it's not what it looks like." He slammed his hand down on the table, the plates rattling. "Don't insult me with lies. Not here. Not tonight." The lover pushed back his chair, ready to leave. But Daniel's eyes locked him in place. His calm voice was sharper than a knife. No one leaves until the final course is served. The air grew thick, every second stretching like forever. The waiter entered quietly, carrying a silver tray. On it, 3 covered dishes, steaming and mysterious. He placed them gently on the table, bowed, and left without a word. Daniel's eyes never left Emily as he lifted the first lid. A perfectly cooked steak rested on the plate, but it wasn't the food that mattered. It was the small folded note placed neatly beside it. Emily froze. Her lover frowned, confused. Daniel smiled faintly. Every bite tonight has a story. This one, he slid the plate toward Emily, is yours. She reached for the note with trembling hands. Her eyes scanned the paper, and instantly, tears welled up. It wasn't just words. It was the very text messages she thought she had deleted forever, printed line by line. Daniel leaned back, calm, yet terrifying. Bon appétit, Emily. The silence in the room felt louder than any scream. The lover shifted in his chair, sweat glistening on his forehead. He glanced at the door, then back at Daniel. This is insane. I'm not staying here. He pushed back his chair, but Daniel's calm voice cut through the air like a blade. Sit down. The authority in his tone froze the man mid-step. Emily whispered, desperate, Please, Daniel, don't do this. Daniel leaned forward, his eyes like fire. Do what? You mean expose you, or maybe you're scared of what comes next? The lover's mask slipped. His voice cracked, shaking. Fine. Yes, it was me. I'm the one she wanted, not you. Emily gasped, tears spilling down her face. Daniel's lips curled into a chilling half-smile. Thank you. That's the confession I was waiting for. The weight of those words settled like a storm ready to break. Daniel stood slowly, his chair scraping against the floor. His calmness was more terrifying than anger. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small black folder, placing it gently on the table. Emily's breath caught. What? What's in there? Daniel's smile was cold. Proof. Bank transfers. Hotel receipts. Photos. Enough evidence to end both of your reputations in a single night. The lover's face drained of color. You wouldn't dare... Daniel leaned closer, his voice low but sharp. Oh, I would, and I already have. Copies sent to your boss, Emily's family, even the school board your children attend. By sunrise, everyone will know exactly who you are. Emily's hands covered her mouth, trembling. Daniel, please, don't destroy us. He straightened his tie, eyes burning with finality. You destroyed yourselves. I'm just serving the last course. The room fell into silence. The candles flickered as Emily's tears rolled down, staining her perfect makeup. Her lover sat frozen, unable to speak, his face pale with shame. Daniel lifted his glass of wine, holding it steady. His voice was calm, almost too calm. This dinner wasn't a celebration, it was a goodbye. A goodbye to the lies, the betrayal, and the life I thought we had. Emily reached across the table, her voice breaking. Daniel, please, we can fix this. But he pulled his hand away, his eyes cold. There's nothing left to fix. He stood, leaving the folder in the center of the table like a ticking bomb, and walked toward the door. As it closed behind him, Emily collapsed into sobs, while her lover sat in stunned silence. The dinner was over, but their nightmare had just begun. And that's when the truth finally hit the table, raw, sharp, and impossible to swallow. But here's the question I can't stop asking myself. Did I go too far, or not far enough? Because sometimes revenge doesn't end at the dinner table. Sometimes it follows you home. So tell me, if you were in my place, what would you have done? Walk away or serve them the same pain they gave me? Drop your answer in the comments below. I want to know your thoughts.